All right. We are back once again with the Ill Behavior. This is the Ill Bill, and welcome to the Chill with Bill show. Hey, Patrick Bet David from Valuetainment. He breaks it down for us, gives us the raw stats, baby. Let's go.
I have some disturbing stats I want to share with you about fatherless homes. And by the way, some of the stats, you may, I've seen this before. I'm going to tell you when you read some of these stats, you're going to sit there and say, that is insane. By the way, these stats are from 2021 of the impact a father makes in a child upbringing, both a girl and a boy. Like I said, disturbing, but you will be shell shocked with the stats. If you get value from the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let me get right into it. The US has the highest rate of children living in a single parent household of any nation in the world.
Woo,
About
we're the
80%
leaders.
of single parent homes are led by single mothers, at a rate of 23% of children living with one parent and no other adult. The United States stands over 3 times the world average of 7% of children raised by one parent. For reference, the number stands at 3% in China, 4% in India. This is not an area we want to be competing with other countries, by the way. If there is a statistic to not be competing in, this is one of the statistics. China's at 3, India's at 4, the world's at 7. We're at 23% in America. Zero bragging rights.
That is wild. A quarter of the kids in America's wealthiest and arguably the world's most forward-thinking nation. Like, wow.
This is the stat everybody wants to hide. And this is the stats where the side effects of this, we ain't going to see for 2 decades or 3 decades or longer. Takes a while to see the side effects. Let me continue. Even for children with a father present in the home, the average school-age boy only spends about 30 minutes per week with one-on-one conversations with his father. For comparison, the same boy, on average, will spend about 44 hours a week watching television, playing video games, and
30 minutes a week versus 44 hours. That's crazy. So you can't just be funding a family. You can't just be funding a family. You got to take that number up. And you got to take this 44 hours way down. This is a problem. Let's keep it going.
and surfing the internet. In our house, there is no video games throughout the week. It's on the weekends. After you read 150 pages throughout the week, then
Hey, I might have to reevaluate how I'm doing this as well, because there ain't no YouTube for my daughter, not yet, and she don't have no cell phone, like video games, any of that, but she definitely watches TV, so gonna have to turn that way down too.
you have the right to play video games for an hour or two on the weekend, and that's what you have to earn. You have to move your body, you have to exercise. There's certain things you need to do to get to that point. That's our household.
That's what we do. Move your body, exercise, constantly all over the place, doing activities. You know what I mean? Bike riding when the weather's good. Swimming activities. Karate. Constantly going to parks and playgrounds and hiking, going to museums, right? We go to a lot of museums, go to a lot of like events and stuff. We just did Monster Jam. Not that is a crazy learning experience, but it was definitely something highlighted and fun, and just getting out and being active, right? And social and all those things, as opposed to being stuck behind screens, right?
But the stat tells you 44 hours a week of watching TV, playing video games.
Oh, yeah. And we went crabbing too, most recently, and that was awesome. Caught some crab, not a lot, but caught enough to have a cool little couple meals, you know what I mean? And the experience was it was awesome. Cool road trip, a little lunch while we was out there. My daughter fell in the ocean. She spent about 1 second in there, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I reached in and pulled her out, and she was just soaking wet and like tripping. Poor thing. Hey, but she was a trooper though, man. We got her dried off, got her some new clothes, and she was right back to crabbing for like the next 2 hours, man. It was no big deal. Crazy fun times though.
games and surfing the internet. Let me continue. 90% of all homeless and runaway children,
Wow.
63% of teen suicides, 85% of children and teens with behavior disorders come from fatherless homes. Let me read that stat to you one more time. 90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of all teen suicide, 85% of children and teen with behavioral disorder come from fatherless homes. That is a very, very big number. Next, fatherlessness likewise has a direct link to teen pregnancy and sexual activity. Roughly
Wow.
70% of teenage pregnancies come from women raised
70% of teenage pregnancies come from women raised in fatherless homes, and these same women had significantly higher abortion rates. 70%. That is crazy. 70%, man. I mean, if you're into stats, if you think that there's legitimacy to these numbers, man, you can't deny how wild this is. And then you think about what has happened over the last, however many years, and you can see, okay, this makes total sense. If this is the numbers where we're at, look at what's going on. Look what's going on in the world today.
in a fatherless home. 70% of teenage pregnancies comes from fatherless homes. 70%. That's a big number. And these same women have significantly higher abortion rates than women raised by both a father and a mother. On the whole, fatherless kids are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated and 11 times more
20 times more likely. Wow. So, I mean, and don't get me wrong, you could still have a father in the home and, still be on this path. That could happen. But, like, if you have a father in the home who's paying attention, who's attentive, who's about raising his kids, you know what I mean? Like, what is the likelihood of it happening? Will it happen? Maybe.
likely to
Probably
exhibit
not. I don't
violent
know.
behavior than children from two-parent household. 20 times
Yeah,
more.
that's wild.
Okay? 20 times more. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chances as children raised by just their father. You may already be blown away by the stats before, so maybe come back and let me read this to you and brace for impact
Yeah, this
if
is
you missed it.
crazy.
Let me read it one more time. Listen, just stay with me. Don't get distracted. Stay with me. Listen. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chance as children raised by just their fathers. The husband and wife raise their kid. The chance of this kid going to jail is the same as just the father raising his kids. The problem is the single mother without a father in the picture.
He said it. He said it like just a wow. Black and white. Is it black and white? I don't know. You could argue circumstances and situations and this and that, but like, can you argue with these numbers right here? I what does it mean? What does it mean for America? This is where we're going for our, beloved country and the future of, our kids and the legacy that we leave behind, man. If this is the direction it's going, right? Do we need to change? I think we need to change. I think we need to change. We got to bring back shaming. We got to keep the fathers in the house. We got to incentivize fathers to stick around, right? Like we can't. The education's got to start. It's got to start at home, right? Like the government is not. Look, the government is in no way incentivized to change this. They want the number going to 25, 30%, 40%. That's what they want because this is what makes money, right? Mass, incarcerations, having people reliant on the system, welfare programs, housing, you know what I mean? Like, and then you raising children that end up on the system. And like, this is what keeps the government, going, right? So they're not incentivized to fix this, to change this. They're not.
that can sit there and discipline the kids, give them hope, values, principles, all the other stuff. We play different roles. This is statistic. If somebody's watching and saying, oh my God, you're discounting women, you're discounting mothers, go get upset at the stats, not at me. This is stats. You can't get upset at 3 times 3 is 9. That's stats. I'm giving you stats that's being given to us by the government because they have access to these stats. This is disturbing. Let me continue. Girls with no fathers have lower self-esteem. We can lower crime, lower mental issues, help the economy, lower suicide rates, and decrease homelessness by bringing back the family nucleus. There are things that my wife can do as a mother that I can't do. There's things she can bring that I can't bring. But there are things I can do that she can't do. So now you may say, well, Pat, I agree.
It's true.
I do agree. We can lower this. But then how come it's not happening? And here's the other question. Who's to blame? Who do we blame with this? Now you may be listening to this saying, well, it's got to be the husband and wife's fault. It's got to be the man and the woman's fault. Fine. How come it's not the same ratios around the world?
Remember, in the United States, there's no incentive, right? We tell women, wait until you're 40 to have kids, get the bag, go get your education, do all this, Oh, if it doesn't work out, you can just divorce, leave him, take half, right? Incentivize to leave, to split up the family, right? Women are, consistently pushed to be promiscuous and have sex and own your body and this, that, and the other, and then they end up having kids with dudes who would in no way stick around, right? Like these are just dudes for a fun time. They're not for a lifetime, right? And women are attracted to these traits, right? And then they're like, whoa, why would it, I mean, like that's, and then you got beta bobs. Some of them are just now waking up even, you know what I mean? They're going out to hell with this, I don't want no part in this. And so now it's just more and more and more of this cycle, right? Incentivizing this, crisis.
Why is U.S. fatherlessness at 23%? Everywhere else is 7% average.
System
So is it
makes
really the mom and dad?
bank off of it.
So how about the mom and dad in
Bank
India?
off of it.
How about
Think about it, like the child support, right? Taxes, you know what I mean? Like the system makes all this money off of the court, like all this influx, right? We're talking about resources distributed from men to the government and to to women, right? Like extraction of these resources. Like it's a machine that constantly feeds itself. And so you can't turn this off. You can't turn it off. Like the laws are never, like it's going to be a long time before anybody changes the laws to where it favors men and changes things that stops extracting money from them. You know what I mean? Like these things, maybe they're bigger than most people. I don't know.
How about the mom and dad in China? How about the mom and dad in Germany? How about the mom and dad in Brazil? How about the mom and dad in other places? Why are we at 23%? How did this happen? Was it like this before? Is it an evolution? Is it mainstream media? Is it Hollywood? Is it the fact that parents are afraid of parenting because everybody is so much involved? You can't do that to your kid. You can't do this to your kid. You can't discipline your kid like that. Whose fault is it? It's someone's fault. Is it the fact that, hey, we can't really bring church and schools and pray and all this stuff? I don't know. Maybe that's not something you agree with. Maybe it is. Maybe we need those values and principles. But it's somebody's fault in America that this is happening. This is purely a systemic issue that we're having. This cannot be like in, no, it's really the community, it's the parents, it's the culture, it's all this other stuff. No, standards are standards. We're sitting there not educating. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. No. Standards have dropped, and the numbers are showing. If we judged a country based on how many kids are being raised by fatherless homes that's producing crimes at the levels that we're getting, sex during teenage pregnancy, abortion, suicide, incarceration, maybe we ought to look at this. Maybe this is very important. Maybe our educational system sucks. Maybe. Kids spend more time around teachers than they do around their parents.
100% all of these things, right? But you can't Unfortunately, it's not going to be like we need to fix this and fix our education system. No, men need to take back control of their families and what they will allow and not allow their children to consume and be subjected to. And you need to raise your kids with values and morals and control. Don't just be out there putting in the 60 and 70-hour weeks. You know what I mean? You can't raise a kid on 30 minutes a week. That's wild, yo. That is wild. 30 minutes a week versus 44 hours of TV, internet, and video games, right?
Maybe, who do we blame? The responsibility has to lie.
Let me tell you, if you spent 20 or 30 hours a week or more with your kid, right, then the impact that the teachers in school could have on them would be so much more minimized, right? Never mind social media and the internet and video games and TV and stuff, but depending on how old your kids get, the other interaction that they get the most, besides the home one, is at school, right? And that's the one that shapes them the most, right? That and home; those are the two big things because of how much time they spend there. If you can homeschool your kids, go ahead. But most people can't afford to do that. So you have to be reliant upon a system. And so if you're going to rely upon the system, then you need to have as much input and you need to know exactly what it is that your kids are being taught. So that way you can help mold and guide that in the manner that you see fit for your children, right?
On the nation. Maybe we're either too much involved or we're not selling. Take your time to get married. Take your time before you have sex with someone. Take your time before you get pregnant. Take your time before you have a baby. Protect yourself. Stay home. Do not just go out there and have unprotected sex. Maybe we're not talking about this kind of stuff.
Nah.
Maybe we are, maybe we're not. The stat says
We're not. Hot girl summer, WAP culture, your body, like live your movie, blah, blah, blah. Hold off on marriage until you're 35 or whatever. Like, these are all the opposite, the anti all of that.
we're not selling it in the right way and we're paying a price for it. If you're in a community that crime is high, hello, you're feeling it.
Yep.
That's the stats. So the next time you see a father that takes their job as a father seriously, you can actually say, you know how we see somebody in military uniform? Guess what you say? Hey, thank you for your service. What do you mean? Hey, man, stats, 23% fatherlessness. And you're there with your kids? Thank you for your service. Being a father is tough. Good for you guys, husband and wife, trying to make this work. Marriage is tough. Salute. You make my life better and safer by raising good kids. Salute to you. Maybe we ought to give those awards. Maybe we need to kind of recognize Father of the Year award, a bigger deal. Man, if I ran a state or a country, we would be recognizing certain behavior and turning great fathers and mothers into heroes.
Because that's where it's got to start.
Because God knows their job is hard, very hard. Not, making their job harder, not recognizing the guys that are doing a good job, just kind of winging it, which is the way we're doing it right now. Stats don't favor us. We got some work to do. This is an area, well, I will very comfortably say America's got a lot of work to do. We've stepped away from values and principles and we're kind of winging it. Anyways, no one masters parenting and none of us know if we're going to be great parents or not for about 40 years until our kids are 40 years old. By the time you know you're a great parent, you're probably not alive because your grandkids will validate that you were a good parent. So you're never going to know whether you were a great parent or not. But I made a video from all the different things I've learned and what I apply in my life about parenting called How to Raise Successful Kids. If you've never seen it, click here to watch that video. Shout out to those of you guys that take your job as a father very seriously. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Patrick Bet David from Valuetainment. Hey, I'd advise check out his videos, man. His content's crazy. He's a good guy. He's really, really well educated. A lot of people like him. I listen to a lot of his stuff. I think it's amazing. Valuetainment is also amazing. Anyways, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.